Welcome to CPAC Now, America Uncanceled. And yes, we are post CPAC now, Matt. Can you believe it?
CPAC 365. We had our great conference. Now all the great highlights and clips are in the debate.
Yeah.
And now we go fight. We fight to win in these states and to get these policy victories we talked about at the conference.
What was your take of the conference?
My takeaway was, CPAC is having impacts all over the globe.
Right.
And it's really important because all these people over the globe are really worried about America. Right. Everybody's in on this conversation, including these presidents from these Latin American countries who are saying, hey, America, Hispanics in America, wake up.
Right.
Don't allow the socialist coup to happen. Wake up, take your country back. And I think we're going to do it.
Yeah, it was President Javier Milei from Argentina. He said, "Viva la libertad, carajo," which is like, praise.
That's not a good word.
It's not a good word, but it is basically where we're at, which is how can we defend our freedoms here in our country? We can't allow this division to happen where communism and Marxism really takes control of America. And I think really one of the moments, one of our big takeaways was the International Summit. Our very first that we held Wednesday night was 20 countries that were represented. Several ambassadors were there. We had the former Prime Minister of the UK, Liz Truss. And really, I thought that was an opportunity where we really talked about what was happening across the globe and how there was so many similarities and how truly the Marxists have this international globalist agenda that it's trying to penetrate the United States. Talk to us about the 3 resolutions that you all passed.
Yeah, so the first resolution, too many countries have in common. We see in America where they're trying to literally keep Trump off the ballot. We have states like Maine and Colorado that are trying to keep him off the primary ballot, the general election ballot. And then you just have the lawfare. Every week Trump is in a different courtroom.
Right.
And he's playing it as good as you can, but it's absolutely unconstitutional. It's absolutely outrageous. And what do we share in common? This is what the fascists are doing around the globe. They're trying to keep Jair Bolsonaro from running in Brazil. Even in Ukraine, some of Zelensky's enemies have been imprisoned. So this fascist trend is unfortunately come to America. We also stood foursquare with Israel, which CPAC always does, and we believe it's very important for people to not call for a ceasefire until Israel has taken care of the terrorist menace inside their country. Right. and next to their country. And then we had a great resolution written by Bill Walton, our vice chairman of CPAC, on pulling out of the WHO and stating specifically all the ways in which the WHO is extra-constitutional.
Right.
And calling out the Gates Foundation for their treachery with their quote-unquote philanthropy, which is really just an attempt to subjugate us.
So one of the big battles that I think we're going to take on is the World Health Organization is going to be having their meeting in May. We're going to be very engaged in going and really exposing their globalist agenda and what they're planning on doing as they try to get the U.S. sucked into this. And the Biden administration is just playing along with the World Health Organization. And we really want to stay very much focused and ensuring that our families, that our communities, that our state governments are in charge and not the international community.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is the fight of our lives. It's why our theme was where globalism goes to die. There was this idea back during the Kennedy administration that America had a role to play around the globe, and much of it was well-meaning, the fight against communism, the fight against the Soviet Union, even the Cuban Missile Crisis, et cetera, et cetera. And it's morphed into this strange kind of socialist attempt to infiltrate free nations and free countries and dictate terms from the UN, from Brussels, from Beijing, about how we live our lives. It used to be settled within a country, these questions, but the globalists are trying to take that sovereignty, that power away. And you ought to be very alarmed if you haven't kind of woken up to what's going on with the WHO and such. Get alarmed because they want to dictate what we sell in our grocery stores, what you're able to eat, when you take medicines, all the control you have over yourself. They tell us they're pro-choice and it's their body and we shouldn't tell them, but they want to tell us every which
Tell us
way we
to
should govern our body.
eat bugs, which I don't think is going to happen. I do want to just
I don't know. If you go to Asia, some of the crickets are okay, but I mean,
I'm
you know,
not into
generally,
cricket eating.
generally, that's not what I want to eat.
I also just want to add before we close here, you know, there's been one of the things that was a big takeaway for me was the propaganda. Following the news, we saw President Trump have this the media said a confusing moment, which was where that the media said that he called Melania Mercedes, and the media, the fake news media, just they ran with it. So I want to play this video real quick on Donald Trump responding to the Melania Mercedes controversy.
The radical left Democrats are at it again. They're constantly making up stories about me because their candidate is a mental and physical basket case. There's never been anything like it. He's also the worst president in the history of our country. He went on a very poorly rated show last night, and he talked about Donald Trump and his wife. I don't know the name of my wife. He was referring to the fact that at CPAC, where I had a sold-out speech, the biggest audience they've had in years, I think maybe ever, I made the statement that Melania was very popular because when I mentioned her name, the audience went wild. I then looked at the two people, man and wife, Matt and Mercedes Schlapp, and I said, wow, they really like the First Lady. So this got taken as the fact that I thought Mercedes was the First Lady. It has nothing to do with that. These people are really dishonest. They are absolutely something. They have a horrible candidate who's a horrible president. They make up things constantly.
I mean, Schlapp, come on. We were there. The president looked over at me while he was talking about Melania, and we were applauding, and he looked over at me and addressed me. And then it becomes like the top news story, and it was trending. It's like, this shows how ridiculous the media has become.
Yeah, once again, I mentioned Bill Walton, who scribed our WHO amendment. He was sitting right next to us, and he was like, wow, I just saw fake news, how it happens.
Yeah.
You're there, you're live, he's sitting in the front row. He turns to you to say, Mercedes, isn't it great, basically, that Melania is so popular?
Yeah.
And they turn it into Trump is losing track of things and calling people by the wrong name. So we actually had a chance to talk to the president on the phone and share, like, this is just a very small example of what they do to try to help Joe Biden win.
Yeah.
And it's really disgusting.
Well, don't get me wrong. If he confused me with Melania, I'd be quite honored, quite frankly, Schlapp. But, you know, we saw this also with NBC News. They didn't cover any of our Israel programming that we did, our pro-Israel programming. We even had a family member who has a family member of a hostage in Israel. We had Mark Levin, Julie Strauss-Levin, so many people, Dave McCormick, talking about the importance of Israel and how we need to support Israel. None of it covered by NBC News. Really tried to trash our organization and really the great patriots that were there in supporting CPAC.
Look, Comcast is a sad company to me. I've done work for Comcast in the past before they got rid of me for standing up against Black Lives Matter. We had one of their business leaders on our board. You know, it's hard for these companies that are trying to, like, charge us as much as they can on our cable rates.
Right.
And at the same time, they've gone full woke, and then
and full pro-Hamas terrorism.
And they're right. And NBC News, a subsidiary of Comcast, literally is pro-Hamas.
Yeah.
While they come to CPAC and act like we're the ones who are the neo-Nazis.
Yeah.
And for this little cub reporter they sent, I've kind of enjoyed him and some loser blogger fighting each other for who got the picture of four knuckleheads who apparently put Nazi costumes on or whatever. I mean, CPAC stands foursquare with Israel. We are a leading voice in combating Jew hatred, which is happening in corporate boardrooms and on all these elite campuses. And we're going to fight it till the end. And yes, the left-wing media will try to act like we're complicit, but we're used to these tactics.
We are.
And they're really
It's
not
so
working
predictable.
because the thing is I used to watch Tom Brokaw every day as a college student and as a young man. I wouldn't turn on NBC News. I do it sometimes just to see how crazy Rachel Maddow has gotten. She's gone pretty crazy, by the way.
She's far left. Anyways, but we're going to keep fighting for you all. There's so much more to come. Obviously, stay connected with us. We really appreciate all that we're involved in, and we're going to stay focused on making sure we have a strong election victory this November. But we are also going to keep you completely ensure that you're aware of what we're working on so you can be involved in this incredible process to save America and really to save Western civilization.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gotten that dire.
Yep. Thanks for everything you do for CPAC. Thanks for a great conference for those of you who were able to make it or to watch it. And let's go take our country back.